Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another interview on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JB, and of course with me is Milly.
Hi.
And the special guest who will be interviewing today is Chuck Montgomery. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So it is incredible to have you here today, and I'd love to touch on all bases of your career. Of course, the most recent thing that we can see is the Scooby Doo and Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover, which came out quite recently now. But going all the way back, I can see, at least according to IMDb, that your acting career started in 1988. But before that point, what kind of started your journey to become an actor?
Well, like I said, I used to do cartoon voices for my friends growing up, and I ended up studying theater in college, and I became an actor as soon as I got out of college. So I even hate to tell you how far back that is. That's way back in the 20th century. But yeah, I moved to New York in 1978 and to be an actor, and I was always a musician too. So the first thing I did when I moved to New York to become an actor was join a rock band. Because everybody was joining rock bands then. And then I became a stand-up comedian in the 80s during the comedy boom. And that led to me getting an agent, and eventually an agent who specialized in voiceovers. And that's where stuff really took off for me. I did thousands of radio and TV commercials. You couldn't watch TV in the 90s without hearing me every time there was a commercial break. Yeah, and I've done TV, movies, and but my main gig was doing radio and TV commercials. I always wanted to do animation, and I was very excited about Courage the Cowardly Dog. But that's really the only animation show I've done until they contacted me about this Scooby Doo and Courage the Cowardly Dog mashup. And because on the Scooby Doo side, I got to do some more voices. I did some butler or some kind of a guy who just mumbles, but God, that brings us up to date.
Well, we certainly are looking forward to going into that in more depth. And as you were saying there, kind of the start of everything was doing those voices and things like that. So were there any particular movies or shows or even actors that kind of inspired you down that theatre route and, then going on to college and everything?
Hey, shut up, dog. My dog is barking because there's somebody at the door. Come here. Come here. Can't you see I'm busy? Here's my own Scooby Doo. Yeah, the actor that made me want to become an actor. I mean, I was always interested in what I call showing off and stuff. Was Dustin Hoffman was the actor that inspired me. That's when I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. It was the 1-2 punch. He did The Graduate. That was his first movie that he showed up in, and then he followed that up with Midnight Cowboy. Are you familiar with that movie?
I don't think I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah, I thought that contrast what he did there, I was fascinated. I said, that's what acting is. I want to do that. So I pursued it all through high school and college and everything. And another actor who inspired me is one who recently died, was Alan Arkin. I loved him too because of the versatility. He was a singer. He could do sketch comedy. He was a dramatic actor. He was one of my favorites. And I ended up now I'm working with one of his sons, Tony Arkin. We've done a few movies together. He's a director, and he's used me in a few movies. But yeah, that was a rough blow. I mean, he was 89 years old, but definitely one of my idols. Yeah.
It was something interesting to hear there about, how you were saying throughout college and everything, you're pursuing acting and seem to know from quite a young age. So I guess it's worth asking as well. A lot of our audience are, in a similar position, either studying to kind of go into the profession or just kind of starting to find those aspirations and haven't started studying yet as well. So do you have any advice for people that are looking to get into, acting?
Well, do as much acting as you can. I'm such a dinosaur in this business. There was a whole different structure for getting into acting when I was coming along. You studied it, and there was a structure that you would go into theater. You could do regional theater, what they call dinner theater, where they serve you a meal and you'd see a show. So there was a thing to go into after you you graduated in drama. So that's how I did it. As soon as I got out, I auditioned at a mass audition for all kinds of theaters, and I got some callbacks and scored some jobs. And I worked like all over the southern United States doing stuff until I got I knew I had to move to New York. I was scared of New York. New York was a scary town in that time, but yeah, eventually I made it to New York, and it was, I had some rough years, getting stuff here and there. But once I started doing stand-up comedy, I had a place to go every night. I did that for like 6 years. And like I said, that's how I got an agent. And the agent I got happened to specialize in voiceovers. And I'd never thought about doing voiceovers. It was always told to me that there were 3 guys who did it. Don't even try to do it, because those 3 guys got it wrapped up. But I came at a time when they were expanding, and I just happened to, my life changed in a week. All of a sudden, doing nothing, all of a sudden I was going in every day and recording commercials and stuff. Yeah. So that also gave me the financial freedom to do all kinds of theater. I was involved with New York Downtown Theater for about 20 years. And that's how I met some filmmakers. And I started working in movies, and that led to, doing some TV work. But yeah, the voiceover was the thing that really, that's when things started to take off, because I had the freedom to do what I wanted. I didn't have to get jobs, digging up street corners or stuff. But nowadays, it's totally different. Nowadays, you go into an audition, the first thing they ask you is, how many followers do you have on social media? So that's getting into the door now, is you got to have a lot of followers on, Tik Tok and Instagram and all that. And there's even my son wants to be an actor too. But I almost, everything I tell him sounds like, the Civil War, go show up and sign up. It's different now. And most people do stuff at home on their own, which that still floors me now. When I audition, they want me to self-tape, and I don't know how to work any of this stuff. So I'm sitting here trying to be an engineer and a cameraman, and I don't even think about the audition. It's, if I get through one take, I send it in. But yeah, it was more of a structure when I was going in it, and that's it's disappearing. It's disappearing. Now the young people younger than me, they know all about this. They grew up with it. But I would just say, whatever kind of acting you can do and wherever you can do it, do as much as you can, and you'll find a path.
It's a very good philosophy, especially one that you've displayed, showing the versatility and transitioning so smoothly from, stand-up and live action to voiceover as well. Like, what type of, was there any differences or stuff that you had to iron out when going from primarily performing in front of people to live action or voiceover?
It's all the same job. It's all acting. I mean, the best voiceover guys that I used to hang out with, they were all the best actors in New York too. So it's all acting. There's different technical things about it, but I look at it as all the same job.
That's incredible. And there's definitely a lot of things that I can, pick out from IMDb, which is just amazing. Like, I've seen that there was a credit for Red Dead Redemption 2, which
I
is
was going to bring that up next. That's
immensely
the one that
popular.
That's the only time I get fanboys. I was just in a candy store, and these kids are running around kind of hassling the cashier. So I as good humor as I could, I admonished them, and they're like, "Oh," and the guy I was with goes, "You better watch him, because he's in Red Dead Redemption." And all of a sudden, they were all over me taking selfies and stuff. So yeah, that and Grand Theft Auto. I was a voice in Grand Theft Auto, but that's the one that kids know about. And they're, I tell them that, and, "Oh man, you're really an actor." But video games, that was fun doing that. It was very interesting, because I worked with motion capture, where I had a helmet on with a camera and a light, and I was wearing a unitard with green balls all over it. And I was in a styrofoam set, and then they took everything and added it later, But I saw that. I said, well, you know what? This is the future. This is the future. This is how, you just have a black warehouse, and you go in it and you start filming, green screen stuff, and you don't even need to go on locations anymore. It's so it's so realistic, the stuff that they can do. And I can sort of recognize it in movies, but you see, like, 60 to 70%, all the sets and everything are CGI. And with AI now, we'll be replaced any moment.
Scary thought, but then when you think
Yeah.
about how like quick like things have changed, like I remember when I was a kid, and even a lot of people would consider this to be quite advanced, having to like shine a
Yeah.
Game Boy light right up to like the thing just so you can see the screen. Whereas nowadays you've got whole simulated worlds that just look so realistic. So in quite a short amount of time, things have changed so much. It was definitely a landscape to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming. I mean, when I was coming up, you never saw yourself on film because you had to get a job. There, you just didn't see yourself on film ever, unless you got a job and they filmed. That today, like here I am in my living room, being able to see stuff and do stuff. Yeah, it was very rare to see yourself on film.
Definitely, and
You
I
had
think
to get the job.
for all like there's a lot of the fans now of the Red Dead Redemption 2 and stuff, which is amazingly popular. Definitely something that I grew up with, which I know that a whole generation of people still love, is that original Courage the Cowardly Dog series, which was a lot of people's first introduction to horror as well. Do you remember how like your work on that started to come about?
Well, I was very happy to get the job. I was I was looking forward to animation. Oh God, I want to do this. And I expected us to be in a studio, all the actors together on microphones and going back and forth and be able to improvise stuff. That's not how it worked at all. They bring you in one at a time to do your lines. And the guy directed me word by word how to do it. And then they called me back about 8 times, but they wanted me to do the same voice every time. It was different characters. Like I was always a sidekick to some commanding guy, like a lieutenant to a general, or a sergeant to a lieutenant, or a highway patrolman. And this is the voice they wanted me to do. Yes, sir. All right, sir. Yes, sir. Every day, sir. And that's the only voice I ended up doing for 8 episodes. So it was kind of it was an eye opener for me that's what it was. But as far as that show goes, I mean, it has become a classic over time. And it's a bizarre show, but very bizarre. My son, it used to scare him kind of. And it's funny, the main characters, they weren't funny, but the people I found the funniest were the monsters. The monsters used to crack me up, just it was so inventive and everything. That guy, John Dillingsworth, I'm forgetting his name now, Dillingsworth, yeah. He went on to do some other stuff, but yeah, bunch of my son's age, the kids of that age, that was one of the classic cartoons that they remember. Yeah,
it certainly was an amazing cartoon to watch. And
yeah.
do you remember, like, when you were going through the recording process and everything, if at that point you got to see what the characters looked like that you were, and even at the audition? No.
No,
Wow.
no, they do the voice first, and then they do the animation. I had no idea what it looked like. None.
That certainly sounds like a bit of a challenge for you to have to do a voice for a character you can't see, and like you say, to record it on your own as well without another kind of voice to have a conversation with to match a tone or things like that. It certainly sounds challenging.
As I said, the director went to me word by word, and that's how he knew what it was going to look like, I guess, and everything. But no, there wasn't any thought behind it because I was just following instructions. I was mainly a voice puppet for that, but.
It's incredible what you say, because I was always of the false impression that in the early 2000s to maybe 2012 it was the case where all the voice cast recorded together, and it's only just recently that they've transitioned to remote recording and stuff like that. But it's really interesting to find out that even back then it was separate recordings. It's kind of quite eye-opening in a way.
Now, a lot of people, if Robin Williams is the star of it, they'll let him go. But you're not interacting with other people. They're doing it one at a time. And that was an eye opener to me too, because I thought, oh, this will be great. We'll all be around and doing our funny voices and stuff. And it was much more technical and uber directed what you did. Now, like I said, that's the only animation show I've done. I don't know what other ones are like. When I worked for the Scooby Doo people, the Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog, there was some improvisation going on there. especially with monster sounds. They would just say, "Go do monster sounds right now," and I do, about 2 minutes of, and they would take what they like and put it in.
It's so interesting, and of course, with the Courage fandom being, so large, and with everyone like kind of interacting, I'm curious to know, for all you didn't maybe interact with any of the other cast back then, like, did you ever meet up with them for like a fan convention or anything like that, or have you still yet
Nope,
to meet
nope,
them?
nope. Never have. Don't even know what I'm trying to think. Were there other actors I knew? No. There was I did meet the guy who played Courage coming out of a session one time, but no, none of us interacted at all.
It's interesting. I mean, it's surprising to that end how like the episodes still flow so, coherently. It's incredible how that all came together despite it being so separated. And in regards
It's
to some
very
of those,
piecemeal. Very piecemeal how they put stuff together. Like it's like a puzzle. They get all the parts and then assemble it. Yeah.
in regards to like some of the characters that you mentioned, like the villains that you thought were kind of bizarre and outrageous, are there any that come to mind as the ones that you think are particularly interesting?
Man, I can see them, but I can't remember the looks of them. There was a ghoul kind of in black draped. It was the voices that would crack me up. That yeah, all of them were pretty funny, even though they were scary. I thought the humor came more from the villains than it did from the main characters.
I
And
think the
the
villains
grandpa
have
was
a
funny.
lot.
The grandpa guy was funny, and the dog was hilarious too. The screaming and everything. Yeah,
There's
and
definitely
just
so
the
many.
artwork of it. It's the artwork of it. That was a disturbing landscape. I remember my son telling me, I was dreaming about the dogs last night.
No, there's
I
so
said,
many
"Daddy."
that I can think of. It
Yeah,
is
I have to go back
amazing.
and look at them. There's a lot when I was doing this and when I was working, I didn't even see them because I was doing stuff, and every once in a while I go, "Oh, there's what was it? It was on Cartoon Network, right? When it was
Yeah.
it Cartoon Network." So I would happen to see it if my son was looking at it, but I was, it was just I was in and out for those sessions in less than an hour. I'd come in and just do yes sir, no sir, and that was it. So yeah, it didn't make a big impression on me till it made a big impression on the whole showbiz world. It definitely has a one of a kind.
I mean, to that end, given that it was so brief in many ways back then, was it a surprise to you when you heard about almost like a Courage revival with the Scooby Doo crossover, or like how did you find out about
I was I was like, what? Because I mean, Courage the Cowardly Dog, that was in the 90s when I did that. Yeah. So for it to come back, I was happy, but it did crack me up, even though, I think I haven't seen the mashup either. I mean, I could see, two dogs. Okay. Yeah, I was a little old for the Scooby Doo stuff too. I didn't I love the live action movies of it though. I especially like the guy who played who's the hippie guy?
Oh,
Oh,
Shaggy, Matthew Lillard,
Yeah, I
who's
love the actor who played that. Yeah, I was a fan of those movies. I thought they were cute, but I never really was. I was already a teenager when Scooby Doo came out, so I was out misbehaving.
no, the live action movies are great, and it's interesting as well because Matthew Lillard actually like took over the role of Shaggy and all the voice and stuff. So it's kind of cool to hear his take on things. But when it came to the Courage crossover with Scooby, did that involve any type of audition process, or was it a case of
Nope.
reprising roles?
Yeah, and I think I recorded this right here at home too, because that's also the thing. The voiceover business is totally different too. I go in my closet and do voiceovers now, and it used to be it was much more fun in the old days because you'd show up at a casting session. I didn't have to film it myself. You had a casting director who took you through the audition. No, do it this way, because doing it on my own, I do one take and I go, oh, that's great, and I send it off. But yeah, there was a big camaraderie because there was about 40 or 50 of us who you'd see every day, and you'd all meet, and we all knew how lucky we were. So we were all very happy and lighthearted when we were doing this stuff. And yeah, I miss doing that. And no, there was no audition. I just got a call from my agent. Goes, there, you're booked to do Courage the Cowardly Dog. They're doing a mashup. And I went, okay. And yeah, it was one and done. It was, did they call me back they might have called me back to do some other, like, noises for other characters and stuff. But I was, I was very happy, and and it looks like it's doing well. It looks like it's doing well. People have, yeah, I haven't seen that myself though. I don't even know what it looks like.
I mean, it's a fantastic movie. And it's something that we've certainly seen a few times. And I think, like you were saying, I think one of the thoughts on my mind was the Courage animation style is so distinct. To try and blend that with Scooby, how are they going to do it? But they did that fantastically. And I mean, before this, I know you said that you were, more of a teenager when Scooby kind of reached its popularity, and that you had seen the live action. But what was your initial thoughts on that crossover? Was Scooby something that you thought, could fit well together with Courage? And were you really looking forward to the project?
Well, like you, I mean, it's two dogs, it's animation, but the Courage was such a specific background and stuff. So the pictures I've seen, it looks like they've kind of just superimposed the Courage characters on a Scooby Doo background. I like I said, I haven't seen the same thing. Do they have some of the same looks, the Courage look in the background? I don't know. I haven't,
It's not quite as abstract as Courage. It's definitely the world of Courage through that Scooby lens more so.
Yeah.
But I think they stay true to a lot of like the color palettes of the farmyard and the landscapes. It's all pretty seamless how they do things in many ways. But as well, because Courage was quite a while ago and there was this resurgence now, when the trailer actually came out for this mashup, I think it was like the #1 trending on Twitter. It kind of went viral. And so like, I mean, how does it feel like to have like all those Courage fans returning for this revival?
I'm telling you, it's I don't get it. I mean, it doesn't, there's nothing happening to me. This is the biggest thing that's happened for doing Courage the Cowardly Dog, that somebody from London wants to interview me. But yeah, this stuff, you're doing other stuff. A lot of you do these things and then you leave them behind you go and you try to go to something else, I had no idea it had been trending that much. I kind of, I got the idea because, and there was hints that they were going to come back and do more and they were going to use me. But I guess this was right before the pandemic hit that I did this.
Yeah, it certainly was for the movie's release as well, kind of around that time. And I think, for people sat at home as well, it was just a good excuse to kind of revisit some of their childhood favorites a little bit as well, which was always good. So I guess that's kind of the end of the Courage questions we have, the Scooby questions. But do you have anything coming up in the future that you can talk about?
Well, right now I've got a few movies that are out on, I mean, you have to look for me stream. Are you guys familiar with the filmmaker Hal Hartley?
I think the name does come to mind, but I can't think of any titles on the top of my head.
I've worked extensively with that guy. I've done 3 movies and 1 play with him. There's a movie called Amateur, and his most successful one was called Henry Fool. And I did Henry Fool and the sequel to that, Fay Grim. But I'm on the other side of all the stuff that I was doing. The pandemic kind of got me used to being retired. So I'm semi-retired. I just finished doing a play, and I'm open to do anything. But no, there's no film things on the horizon. I think there's things out there that there's things I've done that haven't been released yet. But no, I'm still available.
Well, it's incredible. And is there any place for anyone like watching to keep up with your work at all?
If you, I mean, those films are streaming on, I guess, I forget what they're on, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I mean, you can put, like you can put my name in the IMDb and you can find me. I did all, the Law and Order shows, those?
Yeah.
I did all those. Every actor in New York did Law and Order. And I did a couple of them. And I was on, the show High Maintenance on HBO.
I think I've seen that advertising.
About a guy who sells pot. And I did, I was on The Sopranos. I did one part on The Sopranos for the 2nd season. But my my career has been a lot of theater. I did a lot of theater, and I'm still doing that as much as possible. And voiceovers whenever they come around. I'm doing one tomorrow for Cigna Healthcare. I'm at the age now where I do healthcare stuff.
Well, that just sounds so amazing. I'll be sure to leave the IMDb and everything linked in the description down below. But as Millie said, that does conclude all of our questions today. Just thank you so much again for joining. It's been incredible to talk to you.
Well, I'm honored to be interviewed for you when you guys.
Yeah, I mean, for the purpose of people watching, thank you so much. You can find all of our information in the description down below. And if you want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.